guys, it's Kerry with Alice Eats the Apple. Okay, we're going to play What If. What if we live in a computer-generated simulator? What if, kind of like Sims, you know that game, that video game Sims, where you get to create your person, or Wii, do you remember the Wii, where you get to create your me and you get to move about and do different things? What if that's us? I mean, kind of the Matrix. I mean, this isn't a new idea. What if we write our code? We sit down with our guides before we come in and we write our code. Or what if some of our code is written as we go along, and maybe past lives? I mean, it's written this life, past lives, different situations influence us. And we make our choices based on these programs that run in the back of our mind, whether the program around money, around lack, around deserving, not being deserving of love or success. There's so many things that I think are so ingrained in us that we don't even realize we can't attract what we want because of these programs. What if there are people walking this planet that can see the programs run just by talking with you, can see the words, and it's a frequency that the words carry, and they can delete it, like go in and delete it and rewrite that program with you so that you can live an incredibly peaceful, loving, fulfilled life, however that looks. So my guest today is that person. So Wendy Paquette is this incredible holographic, she's, what I call her is she's a blueprint architect. She's a deleter. She's a decoder. And then you write with her guidance, you write what you want your life to be like. And I've actually worked with her, and I wanted to wait. We actually recorded this last week, and I wanted to wait until I had an opportunity to work with her. It was incredible. She kept saying during the show, the chatter, my monkey will quiet. And I thought, I don't know. I think mine runs so much that I don't. I mean, I'm always thinking about 15 different things, and it's never usually anything really all that big. It's just, I wonder what's going on here, what's going on there, what about that person? And I realize I'm pulling stuff in, and I'm thinking, okay, see, I kind of get off track. So then I met with her and over Skype, and we discussed where I want the show to go and what I want to do. And I have a great life. I have a wonderful husband, great kids, most days. And I go underground sometimes, and I react to things poorly sometimes. I'm thinking, why am I doing this? And it's not even the things I don't want that I'm wanting to kind of shift around. She asked me, what is your biggest, best life? And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm living it, but could you live more? Would you want more? Well, yeah. I mean, there are things I want, but I'm getting kind of greedy. You know, it's not, for me, it's not about stuff, but it is about, anyway, other things. And so we talked for a while, and she isolated the code. I watched her do it, and it's like, and she plucked that little bad boy out and transmuted it, which transmutation seems to be the word for the month, the year, I don't know, being able to transmute things, being able to get out of our own way. So we do. I think these ideas, these software programs are constantly running in the back of our mind, and we view our world based on that. So for example, if I think all black cars are going to hit my car, well, I'm going to create that, and then I'll create fear because black cars cause wrecks, and then I'm going, and it just kind of snowballs, right? So that's a bad example of creating based on the software, but I thought it was sort of neutral. Anyway, that's what she does. She meets with you and very simply isolates it, plucks that little bad boy out of there, and then the magic happens. And then she helps you figure out, based on you, how you want your life to work. And I've actually signed up with her because I want to work with her, and I want to see how good can this get. And so I'll let you guys know, and I'll check in with you. Oh, and if you're interested, she will do a free breakthrough which is like she kind of talks with you the first time and sees where you're at and that type of thing. And if you want to sign up with her for an ongoing. Anyway, it's you get a special pricing. So if you type in Wendy Paquette, Paque, I'll put it down below, tte.com/Kerry, my name, Kerry. So anyway, give it a go. Check her out. You can always just do the first one and just check it out. And she's starting a couple of really cool continuing program things. And I don't mean to oversell it. It's just so cool. So I want to tell you this too, that after I met with her and for me, I'll be honest, I'll tell you guys, it was a deserving piece. Like, I don't deserve that, or I don't deserve this. And I would have told you that I don't feel that way, but I saw it. I mean, as we're talking, like, man, I really do see that. And I'm noticing this lack of noise in my head, and it is calming down and it is getting quieter. And anyway, actually it kind of happened right then, but then I think the after effects, I think it does take a while for it to integrate. All right, I'm done. I hope you enjoy the show. Check out her stuff, wendypaquette.com. And again, if you want to go on and meet her, and she's so approachable and she's so sweet and her story's great. So that's it. I hope you enjoy it. Take care. Oh, and there are a couple of little internet issues in there, so be ready to read a little bit when that happens. Just a tiny bit. Okay. Take care. Bye. Hey, everybody. It's Kerry with Alice Eats the Apple, and I was not going to do an intro, but it appears that I am. So we will have two intros. I am sitting here with my new friend, Wendy Paquette, who is in Canada, and she agreed to come on and talk with us. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her. So I'm just going to jump in. Wendy, how are you?
Hey, Kerry, I'm awesome. I'm awesome, thank you.
You're so chill.
Ontario, Canada.
Well, so how warm is it?
What's that?
How warm is it?
Right, today it's actually pretty warm. It's around 70s.
Seriously, I think it already hit about 95 here, but you know, we're at the tail end of our heat wave, at our heat time here in Houston. So, okay, how did we meet? I love this story. So that's where I want to begin this, because I think the universe has a way of just bringing all of us together. It's like, okay, cue Wendy, right stage. Okay, here's Kerry. So let's talk about that. So we met a couple of weeks ago. You reached out.
So here is the story. That's what it feels like. It's like it all happened at once.
Yeah.
So our mutual friend Emma, posted something on, I think maybe just her page, but I happened to be packing to go to San Diego. I'm a leadership coach, so I was packing again, as usual, and I thought, okay, I'll just listen to something instead of just packing. I will actually be productive and I'll listen to something. So I just happened to open up Facebook, and Emma had posted your interview with Dr. Spicer.
Oh.
And I was like, this is cool. I don't know what she's posting. I'm just going to listen to it. I felt called, I didn't change it to anything else. So I hit play. While I'm packing, or supposed to be packing, I found myself glued to your interview. I was like, I couldn't get off of it. I was just like so intrigued and so inspired. And I couldn't imagine hearing anything else in the moment I was hearing it, because what you all were speaking of are all the things that I know to be true, but have no evidence of where I understand, coming from those spaces. So about things about the universe and quantum physics and energy and, your mind and all those fabulous things. And so I was glued to it for, I don't even know how long it was, maybe an hour. And so I was so inspired. I go running out of the bedroom from where I was packing to the living room where my husband was. I'm like, oh my God, you should see this interview that Emma posted and had Kerry on it and she's interviewing. It was crazy. And he was like, Wendy, focus, pack now. I was like, leaving. Right. So that's how I saw you. And I felt inspired to just reach out and say, hey girl, like, I love what you're putting out there. Don't stop. It's awesome. keep going. That's what my intention was, just to reach out and like poke, give you a little poke and go, I get you, girl. I'm loving it. And that's how it started. And from that little poke came, conversation with you.
Well, that is yes. And so my end of that, I get this beautiful woohoo, you go. And I looked at your page and I thought, oh my goodness, I need to talk to her. And so we were chatting back and forth, and you said, hey, you want to Zoom? I said, well, I'm working on my bed, basically dropped the kids off. I'm boxers, t-shirt, no makeup, hair still standing up. And you're like, yeah, me too. And so we just chat. And it was it really, I think we could have talked. And I don't even think we hit the UFO. I don't even think we even discussed that yet. And so
No.
what you do, and I will tell you what I think you do. Now, how I have integrated you into my world. You hear and you see, I can't say the word now, frequency. And yes, and you have this ability, or it's what you do. You help people transform instantly. You see where they're stuck. You see where these old tapes play, what we're taught, what we are taught we can do, we can't do, and you are able to isolate that code, isolate that particular, like I think of it as DNA, like these different this code. I mean, that's the only way I can think to say it. And you say, your issues with money, your issues with love, your issues with whatever is right there. And here, let's just, doink, there it goes. And instantly you can transform someone's life, someone's patterning.
Absolutely.
How close am I?
Dead on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
dead on.
So you call yourself the radical, or you are the, okay, F's. Let's start with the F's. Founder of Truth Spotting. You are the CEO and founder of Truth Spotting. So you see people's truths, and then you see where their truth gets off track, and that's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. It started as Truth Spotting. It's now elevated to a Holographic Wellness Initiative. That is the umbrella, I guess you would say. The Truth Spotting started out with like nudging people. Oh, look, I could see your frequency. I could see where you're blocked, and pointing it out, right? And just kind of navigating through that so that the truth can be said out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is definitely a part of it. That's a learning space. The Holographic Wellness Initiative is to see that your life literally can be everything that you know it to be, in that realm of fantasy, possibility, even just sheer peace and calm at all times. It's whatever your belief system programming has been, whatever your frequencies that you're holding onto in your mind, whatever those codings have been, is what's dictating your life right now. So Truth Spotting is a formula that I use to help people see their truth and to identify their truth. Yeah.
And you came up with this? You came up with this way of helping folks?
Yeah. I mean, over the many, many years, I took lots of courses in energy medicine, and they all kind of contributed to what I know now. Well, up until my one main enlightenment experience, I call it. But yeah, it's the one thing I find myself teaching every single client every single time. And when they get it, it's like,
there it is.
It's like their mind opens up to possibilities. Yeah. It's super simple things. Changes people's lives in an instant, really.
Well, okay. So we have to go back. I want to start there. I want to start with how, because it's an amalgamation of all these different techniques and then thrown into the pot, but you are the pot. I mean, you are the soup. And so those are just these different spices that we add to things to create this masterpiece. So let's go back to, have you always done this? Has this always been a part of your life?
Yeah. I mean, it was all leading up to one, pivotal moment, but looking back, yeah, I was born that way. I was born curious to, sometimes to a default, right? Where you run into people that do some really super crazy magical things and go, oh yeah, I get it. Where most people would run the other way. Uh-huh. So it all contributed into the pot of my curiosity, which caused me to keep asking questions. which opened up new possibilities and created more choice, and off I went.
Okay, so what happened? Where did it come to the head to where you are now?
So the pivotal moment was I was doing quantum healing hypnosis therapy because it sounded really fun, getting people to that space where you can go in through hypnosis, get into theta on purpose, and then have someone channel their higher self so that they can answer their own questions, to see that they actually possess all these, answers to all their questions, which everybody has. It's just no one's actually, got to the space where it's instantaneous access. So I was doing this method along with 100 other things at the same time. And clients would come to my house at the time, and it was fabulous and dreadful because I'd spend 2 hours cleaning before they got there. One day, after a client left, it was a beautiful day. It was perfect. I sat down at the kitchen table. The whole entire house was sparkling clean, of course, because our client was there. They had left. Sun was shining. Beautiful, bright day. And I start bawling. I'm looking at, like, people are leaving my house with radical differences, answers to their questions. Some of them are like instantly healing from physical issues on the table with me. And I realized in a second that I was intensely sad, like deep down sad. Every cell in my being felt sad, like something's missing and something I'm not getting. And all these things I'm doing with people are great for them, but for me, I'm missing something. And so I had a radical moment with myself. I dragged my ass into the bathroom and had a good, clean conversation, eyeball to eyeball in the mirror. And do you want to hear the story about what happened?
I would absolutely love to hear the story about what happened.
I know. It was one of those things I couldn't talk about for quite a long time because it was that unbelievable to me. But
I think it's important.
I decided to go in and do everything that I could possibly do. I made demands, basically, energetic demands, eye to eyeball in myself. And like, listen, I'm crying and I'm angry, oh, so angry, because I'm learning all these things. Ask and it is given. There's entities, there's energies, there's guides, there's angels, there's loved ones that are passed over, there's ghosts, there's you name it. There is everything that I can't see with my eyeballs to be true, right, that I understand, but I've never experienced it. I'm seeing things happen, but I'm not really connecting myself to it. And so I made a demand. I'm like, listen, I'm not having fun. I'm deeply sad. I would call it depression, deeply depressed. I'm like, listen, okay, if y'all are listening to me and these things are actually true, then I'm making a demand right now. You either lay my gifts on me now, lay my magical potion on me now so that I can be everything I can be in a joyful body, in a joyful space, or pluck me off this godforsaken hurling stone in the multiverse, because I'm seriously not having fun. And I feel like that's not why, that's not what I came for. I came to have some fun. And, in my anger, my tears, it was a throwdown. Mm-hmm. And I hopped into the bathtub where I meditate regularly and basically took myself through my own deep state theta session where I went in to a happy place with the intention of, like, I asked for a guide. I'm like, listen, somebody show up for me. Somebody, anybody. Because my whole life I've been paying mentors and guides and coaches to, I guess, to get me or give me what I was looking for, and I didn't get it. I ended up, for lack of saying it a better way, I ended up paying them so that I could turn around and coach them. I can turn around and heal them. I can turn around and train them. I was paying to help other people who were being paid to help me. And so that to me was so backwards. I'm like, okay, fine. A guide better show up, and it better be someone that knows more than me, because all along I haven't been receiving that. So must be in a space that, where my eyeballs can't see. And so what happened after that was the miracle. It was taking myself into closed-eye deep state theta. Took myself to a happy place, laid on the beach, which is usual, running my hand through the sand, and all of a sudden the sand opens up, in my mind's eye, to like a vortex. I was like, okay. And as I'm like running my hand over it, it sucked me into it, and I landed into this cement room, really. It was cold, it was damp, it was barely lit. Everything was cement. where I landed, like the seat, the walls, the floor, everything. And to the right of me, I could see this desk. It was a cement desk. And to the very back, there was someone sitting there. And I'm like, okay. And in that moment, I realized that there was 3 parts of me that were present. There was the Wendy that's here, like in the physical body. There was that conscious, there was the subconscious, and then there was an all-knowing piece of me. Witness, I would call a witnesser. And I could hear my, maybe my lower, my higher self, I guess, or my conscious and subconscious going, hey, what's the matter? Like, you asked for a guide. That's probably it. Why are you not looking? What's the matter? Are you afraid? And then I'm answering my questions, like going, no, I'm not afraid. It's what I came for. Like, still my angry state. And as I'm saying it, I like decide to turn my head, like, I'm going to look. And so I turn my head to look like this, and up rises this massive man with a big robe on and a sash around, tied like a belt. And it was who I like identified as God. And I was like, okay, so I'm not a religious person. I study all the religions. I was born and raised Catholic, but I didn't practice, Catholic. I just learned everything. I understood that there was a lot of Bibles out there, and they all probably led to the same place. But this was the God that I remember seeing in pictures at my grandparents' house. And so to my shock, I was like, okay.
Asking
Like,
you shall receive.
all my, my brain kind of shut off, and the questions sort of disappeared that I thought that I had, like, angry questions about everything, right? Now I had nothing, and I'm just looking at this man going, oh, okay, he's really big. Like, oh, he's big. And he's walking around, and he's coming in front of me, and I had, like, no thoughts in my head, and he reaches out his arms to hug me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a hugger. I can hug. Like, all the things to think about in that moment, right? So I remember he stands in front of me, and I don't even remember, like, really looking at his eyes. I just remember reaching forward, because I'd still carried that sadness with me. So my head felt like it was always down. And so I just reached my arms around him and felt my face against his belly, like, oh, hey, home is kind of what it felt like. And I wasn't sure what to feel, but I was just so comfortable. And then all of a sudden, it was like, it was almost as though he took a step forward, but it was like, poop.
Oh,
he went right inside me. And I'm like, okay. Like, my mind's going, what is going on? Like, what's actually happening? I was enjoying that moment, right? And so as I'm standing there asking that question, like, what's happening now? I hear his voice very loud and clear saying, okay, Wendy, your first task is to love with my heart. And I was like, okay. Like,
I can do that.
Yeah. Like, okay. And then it just kind of went on. That was it. That kind of moment paused and then transformed into me going through the rest of my meditation. And I had went through maybe some parallel lives in that space. And then I popped out and then got out of the bathtub and said the very thing that every client I've ever worked with in that space says. Did that actually just happen to me?
Was that true? Did that happen? Did I make it up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Questioning my own process. Like, I'm like, okay, now I know why they say that, because it feels super surreal.
Right.
And I was kind of messed up for a couple of days. I felt like I slept for 2 days. And then I found myself sitting in our basement with my wall of books, pulling books out of I don't know what I was actually looking for.
Trying to make sense of it.
Mm-hmm. Like that. Yeah, I was trying to look for answers, like what happened, or like, what does that mean? My first task is to love with God's heart. What does that actually mean? And so I was down there, I don't know for how long. My husband ended up coming downstairs. He sat on the couch beside me in the dark, and I'm sitting on a coffee table, like hunting through books and throwing them on the floor and going through more. And he's staring at me, and I'm getting irritated by him. I'm like, why is he staring at me? And so finally I asked him, like, what are you looking at? Or what are you doing? And he pauses and he looks at me. He's like, what are you doing? I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at my husband who is Catholic, raised Catholic, born and raised Catholic. He was an altar boy, like right in, parents don't go to church, all that fun stuff. I'm thinking, okay, if I'm going to get judged, it's going to be by him. I may as well just say it out loud. Because up until that point, yeah, I had zero emotions, like zero emotions about the whole thing. My mind literally took over in the space and did not connect with my heart at all.
Now you're saying up until that point or since that event?
Like during that, since the event, like since I hopped out of the tub, that experience itself, there was no connection to my heart. Like I had zero emotions. It was all headspace. Mm-hmm. What just happened? Figure it out. It must mean something. What does that mean? Like my brain was taking over.
Right.
And then my husband asking that question to me and responding that way caused me to go, okay, I'm going to tell him what happened. And so, I mean, I've been doing these sessions for quite a long time, for years. So he knows awesome things happen during the sessions, but I've never done it on myself. And I reminded him.
That's the thing, is that now you're in the hot seat. Now, I mean, you can report what happens to others, but for it to happen to you and it's like, okay.
Profound.
I just got on the train.
Yeah. So he's like, well, what's happening? I said, well, you know how like all these really cool things happen and, you know, see things and all, you know, all these crazy things. And he's like, yeah. I go, well, I just did it on myself. And then I started to bawl. It just like started pouring out of me. I think the reality of saying it out loud.
Yeah.
I started crying and I'm crying. I cried. I go, well, I did it. And I asked for a guide because I was so upset and God showed up. And I was bawling by this time. And he's looking at me. He's like, he looks at me with his face straight as anything. He's like, why are you crying? Haven't you ever heard of anybody seeing God before? I'm sorry, what? Like, what? No, you gotta go. Like,
well, what did that do? Did that with him saying that? And because obviously he's your husband, so it's someone you care very deeply for, your central person. Did that make it say, oh, yeah, I guess so? Or was it like, but it's God? I mean, how did you?
I was stuck in that space of what I thought he was going to respond like, and how he responded totally opposite. I guess I didn't really know how, but I didn't expect it to be that. Like, so in the moment, I was like, oh, okay, something's happening. Like something bizarre is happening.
Your paradigm shifted.
And then it left me messed up for a while. I think for like 8 months, I was waiting for something magical to happen because I spent my time in my mind going, what does that mean?
Right.
Love with God's heart. Does that mean, Kerry, that when I hug you, I have to think about hugging you and loving you with God's heart over my own? And will you feel the difference? Will you feel it different if I love you intentionally, like with my heart over whether I love you with God's heart? And what is that? And I really was like messed up by that whole thought of not getting it. And that's the proverbial statement that most people say. They just don't get themselves. They don't get their life. Why are they not getting what they want? That word seems to be a poignant place. And then that's when about 8 months later, I had my gift showed up, I guess you'd say. And it was massive. And it connected me with that space of instantaneous transmutation and transformation. And it was all in all, my husband's a very big catalyst of this. I don't think he really realizes it because I don't tell him all the stories, but I was angry with him for something. He had an opportunity that arrived, and I don't know if you want me to tell.
Please, yes.
Yeah. The opportunity came was something financial showed up, I think, out of his work, and he was able to make a fair amount of money by just driving up to maybe Toronto or something and learning it and then coming home. And I was really excited. I'm like, wow, he created this really awesome, opportunity for himself. And the day that he was supposed to go up there, he just decided like he just didn't feel like going, or he wasn't going to go for some reason. And by choosing that, what happened is they took that opportunity away from him. So he never ended up getting it. And I was so frustrated and angry. I'm like, how could somebody create an opportunity for themselves, a huge one, and then just not take it? And then it just goes away. I mean, it's something that he probably has wanted for, that possibility of coming from anywhere, but then just to not choose it. I don't get that. And in that moment, I was so frustrated and angry yet again. I'm thinking, oh, something is to give. And I held out my hand. I'm like, what is that? You talk to yourself and you're like trying to logicalize. I'm like, what is that? What is he doing? What is he being? And I'm like, he's being someone who creates an opportunity for himself and then doesn't take it. I'm like, am I that?
Where do I
Am
do that
I?
in my life? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm actually not. I'm not that, because I go, like, opportunities are always, and I'm on it always. And if there's anything, I'm always saying yes to my life. Like, yes, right. I love opportunities. I'm not afraid of them. So that's not who I am. And I thought, what the hell am I going to do with that energy? That energy, that's what he showed up as. And all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to love it with God's heart. That's what I'm going to do. So I took it and I placed it over my heart like this, the energy of what I was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. Like, as my whole body, every cell in my body took a breath. That's what I felt like. I literally gasped. And I could feel it. I felt really big, energetically big. I was like, oh. And then I came down and I was like, okay, what just happened? That's really bizarre. So I realized I go back into my head. I'm like, okay, so I could barely even find this scenario that caused me to feel so angry and frustrated with him. I'm like, what just happened? And I went back in my mind to try to see like where I was angry and irritated with him creating this major opportunity, then not actually choosing it, and then being upset about it. And it was gone. I had zero emotion on it. I'm like, holy crap, what did I just do? And so then I did it again. I found something else that irritated me and I did it again. And it just so happened to go to a ladies' luncheon the next day. And I was still like high. I'm like, holy crap, what just happened?
Hi on the holy crap.
Yeah. And so one of the lady who was running the event said to me, you have a message for me, don't you? I'm like, I don't know that it's a message more than I have something to ask you. Because the whole time she was speaking, before, sometimes during her event and after, she kept saying these words that stood out to me like they were louder than others. And all of a sudden I started seeing the words. And it was, she kept calling herself a control freak. Well, I'm such a control freak, so you must do this, because I said, I'm such a control freak, so you got to take care of this and you got to write it down. And there's a pen there. She kept sing it. I'm thinking, what the hell is she sing that for? So when she approached me, I said, okay, listen, do you mind if I try something? And I had her ask herself, like, you keep saying this word, control freak. Like, are you that? And she's like, well, no. I go, okay, great. So then I took like the energy of it and I basically placed it over my heart, and all of a sudden I felt that big like inhale. My body was like, I looked at her. I'm like, how do you feel right now? And she goes, what did you just do? I was like, no, tell me, like, go back in your mind and see what, you know what I mean? If you can feel like what we were just talking about. And she's like, what word were we talking about? She couldn't even find the word. She's like, Wendy, what the heck did you just do? Like, that is insane. Like, oh my God. She was joyful. I'm like, okay, so it works on others.
I'm on
like,
it now. Do you have to go through the process of trans, or was that just starting out, or do you physically clean that word for them?
I have been actually like, and that became my process where I literally transmute it through myself with people. So they don't even have to be in the room. I transmute it, and it's gone. So it's interesting.
It is. I love to swim. I love to swim. I've always loved to swim, and it's they say that as we swim and we're moving through water, it helps cleanse and it helps get rid of things. And then I was thinking recently, I'm not really sure how that applies. It kind of does, but it is, if I don't do a lot of energy cleaning, which, I know that people say, anyway, but if I want to do a really serious one, I imagine walking through a gossamer veil, and I leave all of that back there. It's like it gets it out of my body. And it sounds like, in a sense, it is that same frequency cleaning, but you're doing something more than that. You're transmuting, you're and do people come in when they see you? Do they come in with what they want to work on, or is it not always what they think they want to work on?
Yeah, it's not always what they think that they want to work on. It's something's just not working. Like you can categorize it. It's relationships, or like it could be any relationship. It could be like a mother. I've worked with a mother with her daughter relationship, or any kind of relationship, marriages, anything like that, friendships. And then it could be just things that are making them angry. Like they're like, every time I go to work and this happens at work, it's in that space. I guess it boils down to relationships. It's somewhat,
Yeah.
but it's in every space, something's just not working. So through conversation, I'm able to, like, it'll show itself to me, whatever that block is. And basically the block is a belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that they've written in their mind about themselves as a code. And that belief system then plays out in the reality. So whatever they're seeing is just matching what's been written in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm able to see is what they've written. And so then we get to go in there and I'm able to transmute what they wrote into like neutrality or joy. So my expression is always, if it's not joy, whatever you're experiencing from a situation is not joy, then it's a lie. That means you've written a lie into your belief system, into your mind, and it's creating this to keep coming back because you've written it. So when we unwrite it, basically, or undo it,
delete,
it literally changes your entire reality in the sense that you're not seeing it any longer. So places where you used to see like frustration or anger, or irritation with someone, because they would show up the same all the time for you, or the same type of person would show up for you. When we transmute it or unwrite that belief system, it just doesn't show up anymore. You might see the same person and not feel the same way at all and be like, oh, what is going on? That's usually my indicator. Like in the moment we do a litmus test, I make them go back in their mind and see if they can find where the attached, emotion is to a belief system or a situation. And they can't find it. I haven't found one person that has. And if there's anything else, it's not that, it's a different layer that's attached to it. So we just go in and shift that too. But when they get into their actual lives, I said that's when the miracle is realized, because they're in the same situation where they know that they normally respond a certain way and they don't. They feel peace or they feel joy. And that's the miraculous part of all of this. It's how things start showing up in your life. So if you have a block towards anything, your own like mental freedom, your own progress in your life, for success, for love, for anything, the path's there. It's the belief systems that you've written into your mind that are in your way. And so what do you think happens when those are removed?
You're going to take off. Rocket booster strapped to your ass. I mean, up, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I can't tell you how many people I talk to, myself included, where people say, I don't know, I'm doing everything right. Why am I not having success? Mm-hmm. Why is it that, I don't want to do a therapy right now because this is, we can, but I want to keep this on you. But let me tell you my story. No, but it is this feeling. I'm like, I watch my children and I'm not about the numbers. I haven't checked the numbers, I'm not about the show numbers. I'm not, because I don't know where I'm going. And we actually kind of talked about this. But then I listen, and my kids listen to these folks on YouTube, and they love to tell me, this guy has, 4 million subscribers, and I'm just astounded. I'm astounded. And it's like, well, why do I have 200? I have a little bit more than that, but it's like, why? And I think, okay, well, it's a niche. It's not for everybody. But I don't think that's true. I think that there is a limiting idea behind that. Same with, but I talk to so many fabulous people that just can't quite figure out what the next step is and how to take it.
Yeah, and that's my favorite part. I kind of geek out on all that stuff, because when you can see what's possible, it's not just one thing, there's multiple things, and they have choice. So it's not me seeing it. It's not like, say, someone who is a psychic or whatever. They're seeing something, they're saying it, and it seems to be singular, in a singular nature. Mm-hmm. What I see is possibilities all over. So we remove that, and then I ask a question, and now you can see possibilities all over. And the beauty is it's still your choice, but it's directed and aimed at your target. So, right, it's really interesting space to be in. I find a lot of people, most people, and it could be my, it used to be myself included, are running on like a 95%. Mm-hmm. They're at 95% everywhere they look. Just about there, but not quite. Mm-hmm. Right there, they could taste, smell, and almost touch the opportunity, but they didn't get it. Right? It's like an audition where the person right beside you looks the same as you, and they got the part and you didn't, and it's unbelievable to the sense like, what am I doing wrong? It is that 95% mark. So there are things that are in the way that you get to go to 95%. So we just shift those out of the way, and the next thing you know, you open yourself up to 100%. And what happens in that space is, and what I find is, whatever you think about, you actually get, always. So you got to be really mindful, because when you are thinking about anything, you're going to get it. And I don't know if I told you the story about the cat litter wanting to, like, I had my dog scratching.
Is that what that is? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I was, I don't know if this is TMI, but we had too much information, but it was just like last week, and I'm like, I go into the ladies' room, and I'm at home, and our cat litter is in the bathroom as well. So the cat goes to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there and looking at the cat litter, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I would really love to really get down and scrub the floor. Like, the floor really needs a good scrubbing. We've been here for 20 years. I don't know that I've really like nook and crannied this tile floor. I would love to do that. Right? It really gets to be done. And then, I'm all done. I wash my hands, and I go out to go into the kitchen. I go, oh, I'm going to have a bath. So I run a bubble bath. I come back in, and I'm, sitting at the computer doing some work, and I'm loving what I'm doing, and I'm working away. And all of a sudden I hear my husband yell, oh my God, you flooded the tub. I'm like, oh my God. Not only did I flood the tub, it went like, this is the second time I've done it. It went down the register into like the possibility to go into like the heater. Anyway, so he was panicking and losing his mind. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm standing in the bathroom looking at the floor going,
you just created this.
Because what do I have to do now that I flooded the bathroom floor with soapy water?
Yeah, you have to clean it up, wipe it up.
And that's sparkling now, let me tell you. And that's the second time that's happened to me. And I realized in the moment, I'm like, shit, I created this because I declared something that I really wanted. And I was honest and true when I said, I'm like, I really would love to like really get in there and scrub it up, right? Mm-hmm. And because I didn't actually action it, I got it anyway.
It got action for you. So right before, I think either the day before you and I spoke, across my feed came the strangest, what is it? The answer to the strangest question. And oh my goodness, and it's exactly, it was recorded in 1956, and it's exactly what he says. I mean, and there's so much. So I got that, and I've listened to it probably 3 or 4 times since, and then I meet you, and it is just bombarded my thoughts with be careful with what you think, or be mindful. How do you do that though? Because so much of the time we're on rote. We're just sort of just going through the motions, and we're just thinking what we're thinking.
It's a practice of being present. Mm-hmm. Like really being present. Do you know how they always speak about maybe presidents, if they've like met with a president and they were sitting and talking to him, and they are like talking to you as though there is no one else in the room.
Yeah.
Like they are so uber present that they hear every word you say, and they remember your name, and they remember the last time if they spoke to you before. They're uber present. That's a practice of not allowing the monkey mind to actually run. And that's basically clearing out the mind chatter, clearing out all that stuff in your brain that you've written that is on loop.
It is on loop. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I think they go hand in hand. I found that there is zero mind chatter that happens in my head. I think every time something does run, I really look at it and I go, oh, what is this? I pay attention to it. Then I clear it for myself. And the space of peace and freedom that you get when you can just sit in a room and decide, okay, oh, you know what? I'm going to go over and sit with my grandma and have no one else exist in the room except for her and be that present. You can imagine how loved a person would feel.
I absolutely agree with that. And that is something, there was a neighbor of my parents and husband and wife, a lovely couple, just lovely. And I was studying him. He had this way, very successful man. He would lean in and shake your hand and maybe, and I watched him do it with my husband. He did it with me. He did it with my children. He does it with everybody he meets. And there's this feeling of, there you are, I've been waiting for you. I can't wait to tell you this, and he makes everybody feel that way. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And I love that feeling when people can do that. And when people have that ability, it is a gift that you give to other people because there really isn't anywhere else you want to be. It's an intensity and it's a bubble, a cocoon that is created. So how do you, when you go in and you realize, because usually, and I've recently started really tuning into this, I'll start thinking something and it's like, what just happened to make me start thinking that? It's like, where's the trigger? Because something, I either heard a word, smelled something triggered a memory, a thought, a fear. It's usually around a fear. And so how do you transmute it? Once you've identified it, what do you do after that?
Well, I've been noodling on that since I received the ability to actually do it. I'm not 100% sure on how it occurs. I feel like quantum physics has a big deal when you're, match up any quantum physics experiment with how the universe works. And it matches up perfectly to me. When you pay attention to something, it almost slows it down in time and causes it to be changed. And then you get to make another choice in that moment.
Right.
So for me, that's what it feels like. It's like slowing down perceived time to see it so that it can be different and shift. It can. So what do they say? If you send a particle down on a dust floor, if you're not looking at it, it makes like a swinging sort of, not congruent line, like not a straight line. The second that you look at it, goes straight. It's the same idea. So everything's constantly in flux and movement. And so the mere paying attention to it causes something different to happen. So if you're looking at something that, a fear, if you're feeding a fear energy, it's just solidifying more energy to it. It's attracting opportunities for it to be proven true to you. That's why they say, whatever you fear is going to show up. Well, it's the same with successes. Imagine that. I tend not to lean into the fears, but into like, what do you really want in success? Because when you start staring at it, everything you see starts identifying itself.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, pay attention to me. I'm over here. And when you do, it then becomes into form, like quantum physics. So now you're staring at it. Right now you're looking at, oh, now you see more possibilities. Now you can make more choice. It sounds complicated, but it's not. So if you have more fears written into your belief systems, then of course you're going to notice more things that cause you or trigger you to think about certain things. So it starts with a question. You might have thought, why do I think this way? Or why do I have a fear of that? Or how do I get rid of that fear? Whatever the question might be, it almost puts a signal out into the universe, and whatever matching opportunity is out there arrives. So I find a lot of my clients are in the space of like at their wits end of their wits end. Like, I don't know what's out there, kind of like where I was. I'm all done playing this game, whatever this is. I don't like it. Something gets to shift. And somehow I show up and the match gets made, because then they get to choose something different. We get to transmute all the crap that's in the way, that's been written as a belief system, and then they're off to the races. So I would say, whatever you're thinking about, I'd start marking those things down. If those things are fears, or if fears often pop in, write them down. Then we get to look at them and go, okay, how can we rewrite this? right? So that would be what I would say if you weren't working with me. For yourself, write them down and then look at like, how could I rewrite that right now? By looking at it, I could shift it into looking like something different, so that you're taking a fear and then you look a different way, so that you kind of like write that one off and go, okay, now we're looking at this. If you do it in small incremental spaces, I feel you could really shift yourself in that world.
So you don't think, I'm sorry,
how brave you are.
And that's what it is. I think for a lot of people, it's success, and what does that mean, and how will that impact my life and my children and my blah, 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 whatever. And so I think that, how do people find you?
Well, it's various places. It could be online. I've gotten messages from all over. They just happen to see maybe an interview I did, or a video, or if it's in person or through a friend. It comes from everywhere. They find me from everywhere. Generally hop onto my site and send me a message and go, hey, so-and-so told me about you, or I landed on one of your videos, and they just send me a message and we connect that way. Facebook is a great place. I get lots of messages on Facebook going, hey, I have a question about such and such. Like, what do you think about that?
So tell us your Facebook page and your website. Though I know we put your website up, but tell them how they can find you.
Yeah, well, that would be the best place, is my website, wendypaquette.com. On Facebook, you can look at the Holographic Wellness Initiative. That's probably the fastest way to find me, because there's a few Wendy Paquettes out there. So when you find the Holographic Wellness Initiative, it's a closed group. You have to answer a couple questions to get in, but pop in and I'm in there. You can connect with me there very easily. I had opened the group a while ago, but hadn't decided to use it until recently, to be in a space where I can talk about anything, or anyone can talk about anything, and feel safe and free and open. And then I can work with people without having to actually have a session with them if they're not thinking they're ready, or if they want to, test the limits of themselves first. I'm totally okay with that. People have choice. I just aim at what's possible within people.
See, and I think there's so many of us that feel like, there's just one thing, and that's where I want to go. And so tell us some of the success, if you can. If it's not, tell us some of the success stories. That's a lot of S's.
Success stories. Okay. One of my favorite ones was, I don't even know how long ago it was, maybe 5 or so years ago. It was a woman who was struggling with her relationship with her daughter. She had a daughter who was, at the time, I think she was 14. And this woman I met her at a networking event. And I was just like, I didn't even really say much about what I did. But this woman walked over after and said, I don't know what you do, but I need to talk to you. I said something about how parents think they broke their children. They think, I broke my child because I didn't raise them right, or I behave this way, now they behave this way. They really put a lot of self-judgment on themselves. I think I may have mentioned something about that. She's like, well, I feel like I broke my kid. I'm like, okay, tell me more, right? Like, how? So she said, well, I hate Christmas. And, I spend all of December being angry, and I spend the 11 months prior to that being angry and frustrated because I know that December's coming. And so for 14 years, my daughter has not had a proper Christmas because I don't like to put up a tree. I don't like to decorate a tree. I hate Christmas music, hate wrapping presents. I hate the whole thing. I hate everything it means. She just was really like, I hate it all. And I've wrecked my kid because she's never had a proper experience with Christmas. And I just can't even stand myself because of what I've taken from her. I'm like, oh, we can fix that. That's easy. That was like what came out of my mouth. She's like, okay, done. And what happened was I discovered in her belief system, well, through my work is all through conversation. Like, we have a conversation, I'm able to read everything going on, and all of a sudden the block will show up based on what's happening, right? So it's not, people don't know going in what they're after. So that's where I can see it is the bonus. What happened was I discovered her mother died. This woman's mother passed away when she was 10 at Christmas.
Oh.
And because of that, she didn't realize that she hated that. She hated Christmas because of that. It was not a celebratory time. She hated the month of December because that's when it all happened, right? She hated everything. And then she began to hate the months before that because she knew that month was coming. It was like she relived it over and over every time Christmas came. But she didn't even know that that's what she had written in her mind. She didn't even know that. It came out of the conversation we were having. I'm just intuitively led to ask certain questions. So because of all of that, we got to go down underneath what was underneath all those things, like how she was so angry at her mother and how she didn't forgive her. She hadn't forgiven her yet for leaving. And so all the things she took from her, like as a child. And so we went into all those spaces and we transmuted some of the biggest things on the first day. And we worked through, like, I think we started working together in November. So she was already like,
gearing up.
God,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this because December's coming. And so I would say a couple weeks later, we usually work together once every couple weeks. We were coming to work together and she called me a week early. And she was crying and crying. I'm like, oh my goodness, what happened? What's the matter? And she goes, I'm singing Christmas carols with my daughter putting up the tree and I'm having so much fun and I just can't even believe the miracle that has happened.
That's
and
beautiful.
That was the best day of my life. I swear, I think one of the best days ever, because what got created was her daughter was now free from, wanting to have Christmas with her mother and wanting to love her mother in that space and be that for her, when now and her mother then was able to show up. And it took a bit of work, but we did it. I swear, I think we did it in one session. And then 2 weeks later, she was putting up a Christmas tree with her daughter and enjoying Christmas like never before. And it was a super profound experience. I don't know that I'll ever forget it, because I know how that child must feel.
Well, it would have passed on. That would have, had she not done the work, had you guys not transmuted that. That's beautiful. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember the words that we transmuted. That escapes me at this point, because the sessions don't really say, but the experiences do. And it was pretty profound, all from me just showing up at a networking event. And it was one of those like speed luncheons where you have lunch and then you have like 30 seconds to say your name and what you do. And that's how it occurred. So she was at her wit's end the beginning of November, knowing this month was coming, and that match was made. It was really profound.
When she was ready, she was ready too, and then up you popped. In my life, there are, when people, you see it with the words. For me, it shows up. People that I'm supposed to pay attention to, or people that I'm supposed to see, or people in my, and I first saw this looking in my past, like thinking about people that I had met. It's almost like there's a spotlight on top of them. Like the stage is dark and there's a spotlight, and it's like a highlighted, and I'm assuming that's the way you hear the words. They're highlighted, and then they just become more and more and more and more in focus. And it's interesting how when we do pay attention, oftentimes we will see what we need to see. And it might look a little sharper, a little louder, a little clearer, whatever that is, whether it's, whatever it is, whether it's the work you do or it's people you meet, or I don't know. I just think I want to bring that in, because I think that's really important, how things show up. And so.
Yeah, asking questions, that when you ask something of yourself, like what I wanted to tell you, kind of tie back into the story of the experience that I had for myself on the whole loving with God's heart thing. What I realized when I could transmute and remove these emotions that were attached to situations or words or frequencies, what I discovered was that the loving with God's heart as my first task was the key, the master key to the multiverse in oneness.
Okay, break that down.
Isn't different. What's that?
Break that down. I love that.
Break that. Yeah. Well, everyone talks about oneness. We're one. We are one. Yes. And what does that truly mean to every individual? For me, it didn't, yes, it was a concept, right? A construct. What actually occurred was, what my struggle for 8 months was, right? Like I was saying, if I hugged you, Kerry, would you feel differently than if I thought I was loving you with my heart and hugging you and loving you with my heart over God's heart, because that was there. Mm-hmm. And the moment that I was able to transmute things, I realized that I am God's heart. And I am that. everywhere. And so there was no separateness, and I had lived being separate from others and everything my whole life. And so the science of it says that anyway, every cell is a replication of every other cell. Like when the sperm and the egg meet and they create, they multiply to 2 to 4 to, they keep on going. It's the same cell multiplied, right? Everywhere. It just turns out that, part of it turns into your ear. The information goes to makes an ear, makes a nose, makes your head, your face, your lips, the rest of your body. The information forms perfectly in excellence in every way, not because they're separate, but because they are whole. The holographic nature is whole no matter what. So that's the biggest message, is that you're not separate from your life. What you're seeing is your life. And it's how you see it through the lens of your eye, or experience it through the lens of your heart, the emotions, that causes you to feel something different. So if it is not joy or peace or freedom, like in your heart space, when you're experiencing something, then it is an absolute lie. It is a lie, call it a belief system lie, whatever, that you wrote into your mind, and now you are experiencing as your life. Your identifier is that it doesn't feel good, which means you bought a bullshit lie. You bought it, written it, it's in there. So what would happen if you could actually shift that? If the oneness is true, which scientifically can be proven, then what happens if we actually shift that experience, that belief system, that bullshit lie that you bought, so that you can have freedom, love, like all the things that you've ever wanted, because you have them anyway. It's true that you have everything. It's what's showing up for you that's written in your mind. So what if we shifted that piece and you could realize your oneness with your reality instantaneously?
There are so many pieces to that you have to, it's like, I have to just digest that, because I think that number one, being one with your life, I've never heard it put that way. I've never heard it said that way, that you are one with your life and that you're playing it out. And I love that. I mean, I love that visual, because if I write a script, it is, I can write it however I want to write it, and then it can play out however I want to see it played out. Am I right? I mean,
yeah.
So then if you take that a step, I love that. I mean, I just think that is like a place to pause and just sit with just that concept. And so, because I've always had issues with, it's all joy and it's all, as much as I love law of attraction. I mean, I love, and I know that it is, I know it's there and it's real, but I get turned off by you're not supposed to feel negative things. You're not supposed to, we're human, that is part of why we're here. But I think the next step to what I think is the transmutation, and that we don't even know what that feels like to be in a state of maybe not even joy all the time, but peace, just
peace. Yeah.
Just being,
I would say it's peace. It's, and I like, the law of attraction used to mean something to me prior to all the experiences I've had, because it makes sense, right? If you think about something, whatever. But then human nature is to think about the things that are written in your mind, all the belief systems anyway, because that's what indicate where your thoughts go, and things in your world indicate it. So it's kind of like, it's convoluted in that sense a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I've come to realize is that negative emotions are negative. Emotions in general are negative. That peaceful feeling, I believe myself, that is the highest frequency of accessing your God consciousness, or that space of such a frequency where emotions don't even live. You don't even need emotions to identify anything. You can just be, and it feels like peace, and at some points maybe a little more joy. Like there's flavors of these, like this peaceful feeling, this freedom, that doesn't necessarily have all these shitty feelings. Like, ask one person why they have to have that. Is it so that you can experience joy? Why would you want, what if you could just live in a peaceful state?
Shades of peaceful.
Would you need, would you need to know the opposites? Would you need to buy into the duality of that in order to feel it? That means that no matter what, if you want to be joyful, you're going to feel shitty. That makes zero sense to me
Oh.
at all. I'm about knocking out all of those lower frequencies until you're in a space where I'd say most of your life you feel peaceful no matter what. Then you can identify situations differently in that, where people are like, oh, people always judge me, or they always feel like they're a victim. It wipes out the victim, because then you see it as feedback of what your mind is showing you. Life is feedback. So if your mind is showing you, feedback constantly, feedback comes from whatever you've written. So I was like, oh, did I write? I must have written, maybe, like, I saw something in there that generates sadness, because that's what that situation just created for me. Then go in and shift that so it no longer creates that, so it doesn't show up anymore, because you're only going to have in your life what you've written up there in your mind, your belief systems, and that being held up there. So what would it feel like to not have those things? What would it feel like to have someone in your world, maybe, and I'm really premising this, I'm not saying it I'm saying this to show an example of what could be possible if you have someone pass away in your world. Mm-hmm. And you can feel gratitude. Right?
Right.
Instead of, oh, I should have done more. I should have been more. They never,
regret
me, or have regrets, or have guilt, or any of those things. If you can live full out with everyone you're thinking about, with everyone you come into contact with, being that you brought them into your reality, and visit your mom more, visit your brother more, spend more time with your children, go play full out in every moment, being very present. Then when something occurs where they've chosen, okay, I learned my lessons, or I'm on my way, and however they choose to do that, you can, have a different space of beingness, so that you can hold more love. You can hold more space, hold more peace, so that others can experience that too. Because you're not the only one. Wherever you radiate and vibrate, people around you are experiencing the same thing when they're in your field.
Right.
Right. So, that's a very, I hesitate to use that, because I'm not saying it because you're not supposed to feel grief. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just premising what would be possible if you could feel more peace. Because from what we understand, when someone passes over, that is what they feel. Well, it is us who creates the emotions inside of us based on how they left, and what your perception is of, or your belief is about them leaving you.
Well, and that's actually, it's interesting, but you keep saying things that I'm like, oh yeah, I was just thinking about that. It is, we have someone in our family that is a hospice almost. And it is, and I'm just watching people around me and how they respond to the situation. And I keep going into a place in my head, this is not a person that's in my everyday life. And so I wonder, I still have my parents, I still have a grandmother alive. And so it is, I say that because I've not experienced a lot of loss. And I have, recently I have a few more people, it's getting closer, but I don't feel that overwhelming sadness, fear, that I used to feel. I used to feel the fear that it could be me, or what if I left my children, or what if, and that's gone. But that, I kind of think you've gone home. This desperate fight and putting your body through all of this, and it just so, I get it. I get why people do it, but I'm like you. I don't feel that. I don't feel that overwhelming sadness and fear.
Well, what you've written in your mind is what you're experiencing. So if you've written out connection, if you haven't gotten connection, or if you feel someone's leaving you behind, then your sense of oneness isn't as complete as it could be, in the sense that you are all in your life. You are, the experiencer of your life fully, in that when they're around, you are in with them and you feel complete. Like, mm-hmm. You've committed 100% to being so present and so there with those that you're with, that you're not missing anything. You might miss that, maybe the habitual experience. Maybe if you met with them every week, say if I met with my grandma every week and sat and had tea with her, I would miss that frequency of, of the habit of spending time with her. But when your hearts are connected in such a way that you are one, then you get to experience the peace that she feels when she leaves. Right. Or, so it's a different way of looking at it. It's a different way of connecting with emotions. My father passed away a couple of years ago, and I really got the quantum physics aspect of what happens when a soul leaves its body, because it was like an elastic snap from him to my heart in the beliefs that I made up about him. The truth was like in my face. I was like, oh my God, I made up who my dad was to me so that I could be okay with him. It was insane. I didn't realize all the lies and all the bullshit that I bought about who he was, and then changed it to match what I wanted him to be so that I was okay with his behavior. It was a crazy experience. And he left suddenly. He was only 70. So he gifted me the ability to see that we truly do live the result of whatever we believe is true. And it is indicated by emotions, really indicated by that. So I got to heal a lot by him leaving and showing me what actually happens in, your connections with others, and that being whole in your life, experiencing the wholeness and oneness of your life, you with your life, is true with everyone in it. Like every person that is in your experience is you. And so you start seeing them that way. It's pretty interesting. They're aspects of you.
Well, it is interesting. And I know that I've felt many times with my kids. I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm here, and that is where you're right. That's where that regret comes in. That's where that, I could have done more, or I could have. And so I think that trying to embody that and moving into that space, or calling you and doing a little bit of work around that, might just be the answer. But that's,
it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, we went to the movies this weekend. We saw something in Shaw, the new Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw. Oh, and it's so campy and it's so corny, and it just is it's ridiculous, but in a really fun way. Like they know it, and so we just laugh through most of it. But in the middle of the movie, all of a sudden, I felt almost like a big piece of myself locked in, and it was an expansive feeling. It was just this overwhelming, you don't have to do that anymore, whatever that is. The twirling dervishes, just that it's okay. It's okay. And anyway, so I think it might be in preparation to working with you, because I'm definitely going to do some work with you. So I'm excited.
People get to experience what it feels like to be free.
And I think that's a perfect word. It's just to be free of all of your, you're taming the hamsters, so to speak.
Yeah. Call it what you want, like programs, mind monkey, whatever that is. The peace and freedom from the belief systems that came from who knows where. Like, it doesn't even matter. A lot of it came from childhood and on forward. But you live it out, and it can be identified here and now. Like, it doesn't even have to be, you don't even have to go all the way back to your childhood to figure it out. You can identify it if you like to, but once a frequency is shifted, there's just no need. It's forever. Yeah. Because you can't go back.
No, you can't go back. You can try, but you won't be able to sustain that. Just like it's hard to sustain whatever it is trying to get better. It's hard to sustain it once you've reached that. It's hard to hold on to the old belief systems. Like you say, you can't even really remember it once it's shifted. So you have offered...
Yeah, for people to have a free breakthrough session into what their vision, of their life is, and identify some of the things that are standing in their way. So they just have to book one.
Okay.
It's like half an hour long. We get to go into their vision of what they see for themselves, what they would love to live in, what world they'd love to live in, and then we'll be able to identify what's actually standing in the way.
Awesome. And you can do that by going to Wendy's website. It's Wendy Paquette, PAQUETTE.com. and just reach out to her there, touch base with her on Facebook. I mean, it is just so much fun to talk with you. And you're going to have to come. Would you please come on again? Because I think this is just the jumping
I
off
would
point.
love to. Yeah, there's so much more. It just becomes so much fun in that space. My whole thing is about being joyful, being fun, having fun in your life. It creates more of that and more of that to show up. But I feel if you want to put, for your views, if you want to put wendypaquette.com/Kerry.
Kerry. Perfect. Thank you.
And I'll gift your viewers all a free breakthrough session where they can see some of their things that are standing in the way. I really look forward to supporting everyone and seeing what it is so we can have more hearts and minds free.
We just make this world, man, because each one of us, when we start just firing on all, it just gets incredible. Well, thank you. And I'm going to jump off and call you on the way home. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you for being here and showing up right on time, or maybe I showed up right on time in your life, but thank you.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's totally both. Yeah. And thanks for having me. I'm super grateful. I'm super excited for what's possible and for everyone experiencing you in this world. What you're doing is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys soon, and I'll see you soon. And all right, that's it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks everyone for